just first say how much we admire all of you and appreciate what you do for our country every day. We've talked about a wall, and to our FBI agent, I hope you're right. I hope that wall stays down, and I think we in Congress have an obligation to monitor this and to make sure that wall does, in fact, stay down. I believe that part of the problem has been, and we really have two kinds of walls. One is a wall that's there to protect foreign intelligence sources and methods, and we all understand that. That has to be dealt with on a practical basis by those of you who are the professionals in the field. But the other is a Congress-created law with the FISA law. And I will say quite candidly that for many, many years, we did not do our job in monitoring how that law was being interpreted by the court and how that law was then being interpreted down into the field. I think that's our responsibility. And Mr. Chairman, I think that we began to change it and improve it with the Patriot Act. We came a long way with that. We now have had a FISA court opinion, which I don't particularly agree with, but at least it is a public opinion. And at least we can see where the court is going. Apparently, of course, there's been an appeal. I assume that the appellate decision will be published. It will give us some guidance then to see where that court is going so that we can make whatever changes that we think need to be made. So I think we have to follow what the court is doing, see how it's being interpreted, and also see how it's being implemented down into the field, and that's our obligation to do it. And I think, Mr. Chairman, we can do that consistent with national security concerns. It's our committee's job. We ought to do it. Let me just ask a question to our CIA officer. You've had as all our witnesses, have had a great experience and great background, and it's clear that you were, a real expert in intelligence. You've had experience in the Counterterrorism Center. You now have testified that you're a detailee to the FBI, so you've seen it, in a sense, from both sides. Again, I know you don't want to get into this in great detail in a public session, but do you have any guidance for us in regard to the Counterterrorism Center? How are we doing? What else do you need there? How is the interface between the FBI and the CIA coming? Does that need any more improvement? Just kind of give us a quick, a little time I have, a quick snapshot of that, if you could.
It's going to be quick because I've been away from the Counterterrorism Center for quite some time now, but and they've evolved in a revolutionary way since I've left, and certainly since September 11th. It's very difficult to talk about today's CTC in terms that were relevant to before September 11th because it is so changed, and I don't know the details of all the changes. I think in terms of how, any recommendations that might be made, it might be better to come from somebody who's attached to it right now rather than myself.
Right,
as far as the relationship between CIA and FBI, there is a move afoot to exchange personnel between the two. That's critical that continue and expand.
Anybody else on counterterrorism? Any other thoughts? Want to jump in?
I would say, just from my perspective, the management and stories that I hear is that we have come a long way. I think we need to go that much further, not only exchanging management, but also exchanging the field agents at some level, and guard against the fact that once an individual goes to the FBI or vice versa, that individual becomes beholden just to that institution. That they're going to, that they continue to be able to flow the information back and forth inside a system of checks and balances that allows that information to be shared between both organizations. The first step might have been management. Maybe the next step is actual agents and officers from both sides being exchanged.
Mr. Rollins?
In order to do that, Senator, I totally agree with my colleagues. It becomes a resource issue. I know in talking to past chiefs of station, to include my friend Kofer, who's here, we have to be where they are in terms of going after the enemy. I know we'd like to all have officers and agents in everyone else's field offices and stations. That's not practical, but to begin to go down that road, I don't want to speak for my colleagues, but I certainly think I can. We need more people.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.